I swear to God, I cannot get through one of these things in a single, a single parter to save my life. I guess I had to delete some memory. Had to delete some memory to clear up space. All right, so yeah, so I was raving about my long johns that I just bought, and I'm very happy because like I was saying, I think I was saying when you're out in the cotton ones, you stop, you sweat, and then when your core temperature begins to cool down, oh my God, you are left standing there in ringing, and I mean ringing too, ringing wet cotton. That shit is freezing. Oh my God, it's freezing. You have no idea. Um, so yeah, that's where I was going with that whole thing. Uh, Cycle kit or just simply clothing for plus size people, men or women. The shit's not cheap. The shit is not cheap at all. So, it's like 2 grand that I had to spend on that. And, well, like I say, I could have taken money and retained an attorney, but that's still not a guaranteed win. Um, Cops play dirty. They play dirty. They can bleed you. An attorney can cost as much as $1,000 per courtroom visit. You know, uh, a person, Officer Devlin, he lied and said that he did not receive his subpoena to appear. He lied. And that's what police get to do. They don't have to answer their subpoenas. They don't have to be held accountable. They get to operate above the law. Above the law. Officer Devlin, he made some rather revealing comments in the email correspondence with me. One such notable comment was about how he quoted a particular statute about how your travel should not upset, man nor beast. Basically, what it means is that there, there are multiple types of transportation, and not all of these forms of transportation that can legally take to the road can go 50 miles an hour. What if I were an Amish person in a horse-drawn buggy? Are you going to deny me passage? Who hasn't been stuck behind a construction vehicle, moving down the road to an adjacent portion of the construction job? So, and of course, who hasn't been stuck behind a school bus, either picking up or unloading children? And school buses, well, they completely stop traffic. That's not a slow traffic. That's completely stopping traffic. So basically, it just basically means that vehicles of all types will either slow or momentarily inconvenience other vehicles. They do this legally all the time. Just because a bicycle is taking temporary lane control, that is nothing terribly new. It's something that you're probably having difficulty wrapping your head around. Oh my God, my car, I paid so much for my car. Why in the world am I stuck behind a cyclist? Well, you can always change lanes. Is there something stopping you from changing lanes? No. Officer Devlin also says on camera that these drivers, in his observation, that these drivers are stuck on autopilot. His words, that they're on autopilot, and that they're not necessarily expecting to see a cyclist on the road. Well, I know when I took my driver's exam, when you're behind the wheel of an automobile, you have to constantly be examining and re-examining the road and driving situations because, well, situations change. You now have a cyclist on the road that you have to contend with, and you have to do this legally and safely. Change lanes again. But Officer Devlin seems to advocate for these drivers' mindlessness, for their, as he calls it, autopilot. Autopilot. So, I can't help but wonder, Tell me, Officer Devlin, how many of these drivers can make infractions and then get out of them? Can they talk their way out of it by just simply saying to you, "Oh, sorry, officer, I was on autopilot. I wasn't expecting that light to change, or I wasn't expecting that car to suddenly, move this way or move that way." So I'm just saying, Officer Kevin Devlin seems to advocate that drivers should be allowed to operate their vehicle in a quasi-aware state of being. So, yeah, that's what's going on with the lane control and my filing charges against these careless drivers. Also, I'll finish, on that topic by saying this. It's coming. It is coming. Now, it's not a scenario that I can stage or manufacture. Whatever happens on the road has to happen naturally. But sooner or later, I am going to call the police on one of these drivers that either hit me or almost hit me while I'm using a turning lane. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens when this court case, or several of them, end up in Judge Switzer's courtroom. So this is going to put Judge Switzer in a particular conundrum. You see, that's where I was going with the whole, I can't afford an attorney thing. I can't afford an attorney, but sooner or later, one of these drivers that I haul into court, well, they will be able to afford an attorney. And depending on how important their driving record is to them, Maybe they have a CDL. I don't know what the scenario is, whatever their story is. But they're going to need to, well, not be convicted of this shit. Which is going to put Judge Switzer in a particular conundrum. After all, he is the one that ordered me into these turning lanes. Okay? And the video evidence that I produce will be irrefutable. But hey, you never know. You never know with, New Jersey courts. They call it the Soprano State for a reason. Okay? You never know. I don't take anything for granted anymore. But you would think that the video evidence would be irrefutable, that the driver, cuts me off. Of course, the driver's attorney, should they retain one, is going to argue, well, why is the cyclist in the turning lane? It's the cyclist that's in the way, not my client. Counselor, you're preaching to the choir. So, things are going to get interesting there. So this fiasco is not over. I will continue to haul these careless drivers into court. Judge Switzer will have to deal with them. So, Judge Switzer will not be able to execute a Pontius Pilate maneuver, dipping his hands into the basin of water, absolving himself of this, I've convicted the cyclists, Use turning lanes. Get out of the way, all the way to the right. So what if you get trampled by a car? Oh well. So we're gonna see what Judge Switzer makes of turning lane control saga 2.0. We'll find out. Let's see. Also, at the police station today in Egg Harbor Township, I brought charges against Officer McKinney. Officer McKinney falsified a police report regarding my hit and run incident. Officer McKinney stated that I was operating my camera, my phone, with my left arm. Such as I am now, I am indeed operating my phone with my left arm. See? Left side. But in fact, the video on the day in question clearly shows me operating my camera phone with my right hand. Okay, and it also shows that I was wearing a long sleeve jersey and that my left arm was bandaged up in a makeshift sling that I used my windbreaker to make a first aid sling for myself because the car had hit me and struck me on my left side, left hip, left arm, shoulder, forearm, but it was Officer McKinney's focus and intention to fabricate this police report to read as if no accident had actually happened. Officer McKinney also took it upon himself to render a medical judgment. He stated that he did not observe any kind of redness or injury or swelling to my left arm. Okay. Officer McKinney did not execute a physical examination of my arm or any part of my body. Okay. I'm going to step out on a limb here and say that Officer McKinney is not a board certified physician or licensed practicing nurse to make any kind of medical deductions about an injury. Okay? You're not qualified to make that statement. Your police reporting is to simply state the facts, not render medical, judgments that you're not qualified to make, especially when you have not executed any kind of physical examination of said injured body part. Okay? I'm a little surprised that Officer McKinney made such a rookie mistake. I've only been a $10 an hour security guard, but that was medical. That was security training 101. When I was learning to do security investigations in the casino, etc., and various jobs, you did not say a person was drunk. Okay? I am a security officer. I'm not qualified to execute a field sobriety test. Okay? What I can do is state the empirical facts. Subject was speaking with slurred speech. Subject had glassy eyes. Subject was unsteady on their feet. If indeed that was the facts, But unless I can execute a field sobriety test, and then, of course, even then, things get a little dodgy, But yeah, so, Officer McKinney cannot say that there was not any swelling or redness because my arm was completely concealed from his field of view. Okay? And it was highly inappropriate of him to write a narrative in the context that I had no injury. That's definitely highly inappropriate, highly unprofessional. And then, of course, I had to file additional charges against Sergeant Purr. Yay! Everybody remembers Sergeant Purr. Sergeant Purr is the miserable little police officer who likes to approach cyclists with his hand on his gun. My mental illness really appreciated that shit. That's the kind of shit that keeps me up at night like this. That's the kind of shit that wakes me up with nightmares. Sergeant Purr. I believe I touched on it in another video. Sergeant Purr took it upon himself, what I can assume to be upon himself. I seriously doubt the Egg Harbor Township Police Department authorized or endorsed him to take this action, but he took it upon himself to manufacture a paper banner using very large, bold font print with my name, full name, birth date, social security number, telephone number, driver's license number, all of my personal detail information. And he holds this up. He holds it up to my cameras, and he holds it up in clear and plain view for everybody to see. Everybody that is in the parking lot and coming and going at Beacon Cycling and Fitness. There is a version of that video that is uploaded. I believe it's the fifth ticket or fifth stop of the Nazi police unlawful stop. That is on YouTube. You know, I had to trim it down and edit it a little bit because I had to basically, when you see Sergeant Purr exit his vehicle with the white paper in his, I believe it is his right hand. That is the banner folded up. With all of my personal information on it. So there is a federal law. It's called the Driver Privacy Protection Act. This prohibits law enforcement from accessing the DMV and from accessing your personal information for their own purposes, their own vendetta, their own grudges, for exacting their own personal revenge. And that is exactly what is going on. You know, Sergeant Purr was extremely upset with me for having put him on YouTube with his hand on his gun, asking me to produce my documentation, and of course that's in the rear pocket of my cycle jersey. I'm sure we all know, what happens to minority men when they reach into pockets. For all I know, this could have been a staged situation where Sergeant Purr was setting me up to shoot and murder me. He could have very well indeed been setting the stage to murder me and to have that murder justified, like so many police officers get away with these days, of murdering people who do not have weapons, and later on they just simply walk away scot-free. That's why I'm not terribly shocked that Officer Kevin Devlin got to walk away from his subpoena and completely ignore it. If police officers can gun you down and kill you in cold blood, then walking away from a subpoena isn't anything at all. So that's where we're at. That's what we're dealing with. My video is getting kind of long here, so I'm gonna cut her off. But yeah. So South Jersey drivers, beware. I'm out there and I am hauling you in. And the careless driving is going to have to come to an end. I'm tired of having my life dangled in front of me. I'm tired of seeing my life flash before my eyes, as you dart your vehicles, in and out in front of me. What can I say? If I had lane control, this wouldn't be such an issue. Total Control 871.